us now to move to our panel discussion. So I'm going to invite Anna, Henk, and Andreas to come up to the stage, and we'll start off having a discussion about this. So.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Banati. I am a journalist and editor at telex.hu. It's a Hungarian independent news site. And it is my great pleasure to welcome today's guests, András Pető, who is the editor-in-chief of Direct 36 and also one of the creators of the movie, and Henk William Schmidt, who is a journalist at a Dutch media outlet, Follow the Money, and he specializes in tax avoidance and other types of wrongdoing by large companies and wealthy individuals. So both of them are very familiar with the dynamics of power and wealth, and today we are going to discuss the movie we just saw and also how investigative journalism is these days. Thanks for coming. I will probably sit here. So Andreas, thanks. To start off, can you tell us a little bit about the process of making this movie? So for how long did it take to finish it, and whether you had to leave out any parts, or whether there were any stories you couldn't tell in this movie?
Well, thank you for having me here, and thank you for seeing this film. So a little bit about Direct 36. We are an investigative reporting nonprofit. We've been around for like 10 years now, and actually for most of our existence, we've produced articles, not news articles, more like investigative articles. And but a couple of years ago, we started to talk internally, like it would be, that we should expand to other formats. And like after some thinking, we realized that actually long-form documentaries, it could be a good fit for us, because that's what we are good at, telling complex stories but also hopefully in a compelling way. The difficulty was that we are not filmmakers. So we had to find professionals who can work with us and who speak the visual language, the film language. So this is our second long form documentary. The first one was published in 2023, and that was about hospital infections, and that's also on YouTube. You can also watch it with English subtitles. So, and that was, it didn't reach as many views or viewers as this one. It didn't become such a big success in terms of viewership, but we were really happy. We were really happy with the film, and we thought that this could be a good format for us. So, after that, quite soon we started to look for other ideas, and in the first few years of Direct 36, we did a lot of reporting about the family, about István Tiborcs, but also about the Orbán's father, who is not, actually is only mentioned in the film briefly. So we already had some, reporting. But what gave us the idea is that actually the magazine that you used to work for, Forbes, and the list that you were used to work on. At the end of 2023, that was the first time that István Tiborcs officially made it to the Forbes list of wealthiest people in Hungary. And that gave us the idea. I was talking with one of my colleagues, Zsuzsanna, and she told me that, this is so interesting. Why don't we, go back and do some more reporting on Tiborcs? But then, that was so. Then as I was thinking about it, I realized that, yeah, but there were so many stories published already about him and about the family. But then, as we were also looking for a new film idea, and then at some point it just clicked that, okay, yes, there were tons of stories, articles about this story about the Orbán family businesses, and there were also actually some videos made as well, but there's never been a really well-made, produced documentary. So that's how it started, and then we started to talk with the filmmakers. We built a team inside Direct 36 that started to work on this, and it took about a year. And in terms of what we had to leave out, you know, I think that there are two keys to storytelling. One is what you put into the story and what you leave out of the story. And actually the second one is often more important than the first one, because you know, and journalists, I don't know what Hank thinks about this, but you know, journalists have this habit when they spend, you know, months reporting on a story, and then they have all the facts, and they wanna squeeze everything into that you know, whatever piece they publish. And I think that's wrong, because you know, you know, so you often confuse the audience, and so we wanted to, you know, we left out a lot of things. This is a 30-year long story. You know, of course we had to leave out a lot, but I think we didn't leave out anything that was, you know, that would have put it in another perspective. So in that sense, we were trying to be really fair and balanced and everything, but we also, you know, we wanted to make it as easy to understand as possible.
And Hank, for you, how did it strike, this movie? You've seen it 2 times already. This was your 2nd time today. How did it strike you? Were there any new information for you?
Yeah, well, I heard about Orban, of course, but I don't read daily about the Hungarian news. So yeah, a lot of what I saw, I didn't know, and yeah, it's impressive. It's a huge amount of information still, although you left a lot out. But I believe you killed a lot of darlings, definitely, because there's a lot to tell. That is for sure. And yeah, it's an amazing story. It's
what was the most surprising fact you've learned from this?
Well, what struck me was that it looks a lot like the Trump family now, that you have a president whose kids are enriching themselves with crypto coins and gold resorts in Vietnam, and yeah, they have the whole world as a playground. I understand the kids of Orban want to expand in the rest of the world too. So yeah, that was something that really struck me. That it was a sort of prelude of the things to come in the U.S. Now. Yeah,
in this movie, one of the participants, I think it was Gergő Zsiborás, the editor-in-chief of Forbes. He had a sentence that this story is very unique, very Hungarian. How do you see this? Because there were some other examples, Tunisia and Azerbaijan. How do you see this type of story? Is it unique or is it more international? What's happening here?
Well, it's maybe more international than it looks on first sight. Let me talk about the Dutch situation. The Netherlands, I don't know if everybody knows it here, but it functions as a sort of tax haven. And it's a country like Luxembourg, where a lot of money, international money, flows through. And this leads to also that the Netherlands is facilitating, so to say, people like Orban. I don't know if the Orban family also uses Dutch entities, but we know, for example, the Dos Santos family who run Angola for many years. They robbed the country of several companies, an oil company and a jeweler in Switzerland, and this went via Dutch entities. It is also known that a company of Mikhail Friedman, famous Russian entrepreneur, he used Dutch entities to bribe the presidential family of Uzbekistan. Netherlands, and not only Netherlands, but also Cyprus, for example, or Luxembourg, also play a role in these kind of systems, and so it's maybe less Hungarian than it seems. Here it's more on the surface, that's for sure. But also in the Netherlands, now we see, for example, that sometimes rich people who have a single issue. Most recently, it was agricultural. People got very rich in agriculture. They have slaughterhouses or animal feed. These are billionaires too, and you see that they bought political influence, and they started their own sort of propaganda bureau. It's called Agri-Facts. It has got a lot to do with facts, but they try to influence public opinion, and this also worked because at the last two elections, a farmer party got a lot of votes and is now blocking a lot of necessary new laws, just so these agro-milliardaires, agro-oligarchs can make money. Yeah.
Andreas, how do you see this?
So I think there is a. I think it's probably, you know, when if you take the family story itself, I think that's still relatively unusual in Europe. I mean, you don't really see this happening with other, you know, prime ministers or other leaders. I mean, I'm not saying there is no corruption, but I think here it's happened in such a brazen way, like, you know, so openly, even. So I think that's. But it's you're absolutely right that the American example is so similar, and I'm just wondering why there is always a son-in-law. There is always a son-in-law. It's, you know, it's become like you know, such a typical figure, because I think there is I think in Turkey there is also, you know, the son-in-law does business. I think I'm not sure about the Azeris, but but I think what's more common, and that's something that is absolutely true, I think, in the western part of Europe and in the Western world, is that there is a whole industry of enablers. You know, if you look into the stories of Tibortz, for example, you know, he's surrounded and his companies are surrounded by some of the top law firms, international law firms, or consultancy groups, and you know, and they are happy to take his money, and they're happy to, you know, in a way legitimize their businesses. So I think that's definitely a common theme, and I think that's where there is a lot of responsibility in some of the Western capitals.
Yeah, and the problem is that there are a lot of risks with this kind of model. Some of them were mentioned in the movie, and one of the journalists, András Bódis, he mentioned that it's even impossible to imagine how the public can get back all these assets, because we are talking about a few % of Hungarian GDP is now in their hands. How do you see this? That it was also mentioned in the movie that it took 8 years for Fidesz to build up this economic and financial empire, and now it's very difficult to imagine how we can reverse this process. How do you see this from international examples and also with your imagination?
Yeah, difficult. I think it's what we see now. The last years, this is a bit a sort of a trend in all the world. It's getting more authoritarian. You see it in Brazil too. You see it in India. You see it in Netherlands. So yeah, I think it's difficult. I hope in time it will get better, and hopefully by good journalism we can keep the people informed, and let's hope they pay attention. But yeah, the forces against it, like I said, like this propaganda bureau in the Netherlands we have, or for agricultural facts, yeah, it's something. It's very difficult. It makes our job very difficult, and also in the Netherlands, you see politicians undermining journalism and journalists, and so yeah, I don't see a solution quickly, but yeah, we just have to struggle on. I think.
You're supposed to be the optimist here. I'm the Hungarian. Come on, we are the ones who are pessimists by nature. But you know, I think we'll see. It has to be understood that, you know, in this whole family empire has been built as where politics and business have become intertwined, and it's hard to separate the two. So we'll see if there is political change, you know, that the political pillar will, you know, fall out, and then we'll see what happens with the business pillar, business leg of this empire, whether it will be, you know, sustainable, you know, whether they build a financial empire that can survive, you know, because right now it's pretty, as it's explained in the film, it's pretty simple, the business model, you know. It's if you, I think it's Gerge who says that, you know, if the math doesn't add up, then, you know, you can always get like a friendly, you know, favorable loan, or you can get like strike a business deal with the government, and suddenly you can plug the holes in your books or in your budget. But of course, you know, if there is no such political support, then we'll see what's going to happen. I don't know. I think, you know, I wouldn't underestimate them, because, you know, I think they are smart enough that they know that things can change. So I don't know where, you know, they accumulated an, you know, extraordinary amount of wealth. I think, you know, I know that, you know, Force is pretty good at calculating those figures, but, you know, you can only work with the public figures, so we don't know actually how much. Probably what we know publicly is, you know, just the tip of the iceberg. So I think it's hard. What we see, I mean, we don't understand the whole conglomerate functions, but they don't seem to be so successful financially so far. Like, you know, there is this hotel where my colleagues entered, the castle, the palace in Tura, which they had to, you know, it functioned as a hotel for years, but actually they just kept losing money, so they had to close it for the public. And now they're trying another business, which is like holding events and weddings, and so we'll see whether that works. But, you know, for years they let it you know, be you know, they lost a lot of money with that. So yeah, I don't know. I think. Yeah, we'll see if the circumstances change, you know, whether that will be, you know, a viable business or not.
Yes, I guess we'll see. Just maybe some example of how much money we are talking about. I was the editor of the billionaires list for Forbes Hungary, and all the billionaires who are mentioned in the movie were we had to estimate their wealth. And Mészáros Lőrinc, who is the childhood friend of Viktor Orbán, he took about 1 month every year, and that's just what we see from public data. Tiborcs, he was about 1 week, and Chimichka was like half an hour, because after they broke up, he had a farm, I think, and that's all. So we are talking about a lot of money. Let's jump to investigative journalism. What do you see, or what role you see for investigative journalism in countries like Hungary, but even in the Netherlands, where you cover these kinds of stories as well? What do you see about how do you see the future of investigative journalism?
Well, that I see a bit more positive then. Because there is a lot to investigate. And it's getting worse, as we just saw. What helps is also technique is getting better. It is you have a lot of databases digitalized and things like that, and AI and also software like the OCCRP uses, which makes it easier and quicker to make network analysis and things like that. There's also, at least in the Netherlands, appetite for investigative journalism. Our website, Follow the Money, is completely financed by members. So people pay around 100 euros a year, and we have now almost 46,000 members. So we also don't have a subsidy. Also, not like OCCRP got in trouble because they got a lot of money from US aid, which stopped. We don't have those problems. So yeah, I hope this is a model that also works for your websites. And so yeah, I am positive about it. More and more is possible. There are more tools, and yeah, if you can find enough people to support you, it can be sustainable. Yeah.
Andreas?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think you made, and I'm also actually pretty optimistic. I mean, we live in these strange times that it's also the kind of like the golden age of investigative journalism because of the reasons that Hank explained. Because the toolbox of investigative journalism has expanded vastly with all the digital and open source intelligence and data methods that became available for us and for anyone basically. But on the other hand, journalism, independent journalism, and even investigative journalism specifically is under attack and under pressure in more and more countries. And we are also, it's not only we talk a lot about how politicians and populists and autocrats are attacking journalism, but I think there is the other. It's not really a danger, it's a fact that we are living in a noisy and chaotic and toxic, often toxic information environment, and it's hard to cut through that noise with your stories, and in a way, the power, the relevance of independent journalism has weakened because of the technological changes that happen. But I'm also, what makes me optimistic is that I think the kind of journalism that we do, investigative reporting, finding and telling original stories, actually I think that the value of that is increasing, because that's something that nobody else can do. Like Joe Rogan won't do investigative reporting or won't find original. He's good at some things, or the other influencers or others. So I think we have some set of skills that are becoming valuable and more valuable in this environment. And if you find the right way to tell a story, even a long story and a complex story, then you can reach massive audiences. So yeah, I think that makes me optimistic. Of course, when the government introduces a law that is aiming to kill you, I mean, not physically, but your organization, that makes me somewhat pessimistic. That's off the table for now, at least. So we'll see. I don't know, but yeah, in a general sense, I'm optimistic about the future of investigative reporting.
You and Direct 36 was under attack because of this movie. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How you become influenced by the Ukrainian Secret Service?
Yeah, that was a really interesting and crazy story. So we knew that we were going to publish this film at the beginning of February, and we released the trailer at the end of January, and actually for a few days nobody really cared. But then a pro-government a propaganda paper, Magyar Nemzet, published a story that claimed, of course without evidence, and it was a blatant lie, that this film was made with the assistance of the Ukrainian intelligence services. And normally we don't really respond to this kind of lies and attacks, but in this case we did, because it was such a a blatant lie. And I think it was clear for most, and then some government politicians repeated this claim. And I think it was clear for a lot of people, maybe not most people, but a lot of people, that it was a really kind of lame preemptive strike against the film, that they wanted to undermine the film even before it was released. But because it was so such a crazy lie, that it backfired, and then it generated a lot of interest in the film. So, in the first 5 days when the trailer was out, it had like 20,000 views. 12 hours after this lie was published, it had 80,000 views just on the trailer. And we kept receiving messages when the film is going to be released, and so it was the best promotion. We couldn't have come up with a better promotion campaign, but it was the government. And then after a few days, when the film came out, and then it skyrocketed, like it had, I don't know, I think in the first day or 2 days it already had 1 million views. So they stopped talking about the film, basically, because they realized that whatever they say, whatever they do, is helping us, and is basically not working as they intended to.
Yeah, it was a good PR in the end. Looking back at when you first started working as investigative journalists, how do you see the conditions back then and right now? So would you say that it's more dangerous to work as a journalist?
Well, yeah, I think it is, because there is, like I said, there is more appetite for investigative journalism, but there is also more aggressiveness towards journalists, also in the Netherlands, especially with people who are against vaccinations, groups like that. So we saw, for example, that colleagues who work for television, they used to drive in buses with the logo of their network on it. Now they don't do that anymore. So also in the Netherlands it became more dangerous. There are also cases of violence against reporters, mostly, and not investigative journalism, but more the boots on the ground reporters. Yeah, for them it's more dangerous. What we notice at Follow the Money, and this is also because we are lately, we also have an English language website, and we are expanding our international publication. Our English website is growing fast, also with more content, and we notice that, and this is especially something that comes from the UK. They have a very strict libel laws there, and these lawyers there, they try to export their view on journalism also to the continent. So what we call them slaps. So these are court cases you know these people won't win them, but yeah, they have an endless amount of money, so they just keep on going and going and drain your resources in time and money. And yeah, this is a really annoying trend you see. And as I understood, this is also in Germany getting a problem. You probably may know that too, that it was actually a successful court case was against the UBO register in Luxembourg, which prevented the new database of who is the ultimate beneficial owner of a company. This had to be taken offline again. So yeah, you see, more court cases, and more threats with court cases. More PR companies, also mainly from the UK and the US, intimidating you, gaslighting you. Are you sure about what you're saying and writing? And yeah, so I would say it's getting more dangerous, and it's getting more expensive, mostly because of these slaps. Yeah.
I can mostly just echo what Hank said. It's but I think it's, you know, I mean, what I also would like to emphasize that, you know, here in Hungary, you know, sometimes when journalists from faraway places come here and they interview us and they are surprised that we are not in jail or we don't work in a bunker, or I don't know, like, you know, they think that it's so dangerous to do journalism here in Hungary. And no, it's, I mean, fortunately it's not, you know, it's not like Turkey, not even, you know, certainly not like Russia or Belarus or Serbia. I mean, there are many places, countries, even in the region, where it's much more dangerous to pursue journalism than here in Hungary. But here you still have to pay a price for doing this. Like, you know, you are constantly attacked by the government's propaganda machinery. You are subjected to lawsuits. You know, 2 of my colleagues were surveilled with the Pegasus spyware. So, you know, it's not a pleasant environment to work with, but to work in. But, you know, I think, you know, we are living in dangerous times. I think, you know, it doesn't have to be a journalist. You know, if you go on, you know, if you speak up, if you speak truth to power, if you go on social media, or, you know, if you challenge someone, you can face similar problems. So I think it's unfortunately that's the world we are living in now. And but you know, and then there is, I also see that, you know, politicians, or especially these new kind of politicians, they, you know, they never liked journalists. And I think they see an opportunity now with how the you know, we lost some of our power. You know, we don't control the distribution channels anymore. We are not gatekeepers anymore. So I think they see an opportunity here. But when you do journalism that resonates with people, that gets millions of views or hundreds of thousands of clicks, then I think that's also, that gives you support. So, you know, I think one of the reasons why the government stopped, you know, attacking us, you know, individually, was that, you know, they, you know, it's all these people who've seen the film. I mean, I'm not saying that they would come to the streets, but, you know, that gives you some kind of moral support and some kind of protection.
Yeah, just to see the numbers, it was viewed by 3.7 million people, and Hungary is, yeah, about 10 million people are living here. Before we open up the floor to the audience, I have one final question. In your view, what is the primary purpose of investigative journalism? So what motivates you, and what's your goal with these movies and with these articles?
Yeah, what is important for us at Follow the Money is trying to empower people to make well-informed decisions. We are called Follow the Money, so we mostly write about the finance and economy sphere, and but also government expenses, healthcare and education. So big money flows, and we think if we explain to people what is happening and what is going wrong, they are more empowered to make right decisions, to know what to do in the voting booth. Make the right, do the right thing themselves. That is what we hope to achieve.
I think that's two different things. What's the function or role of investigation, and why I'm motivated to do it? You know, I think of course, the social function is, I mean, the function of journalism. I mean, it has two functions. One is to, explain and describe to people what's going on around them, and investigative journalism is about the second function, which is just about holding powerful institutions and individuals to account and take the audience to behind the scenes and to show them what's actually happening, behind closed doors, and but I have to say that what personally motivates me is it's the mission of journalism is very noble, but I don't think I would be doing it, or I would have been doing it for more than 20 years if it wasn't so much fun or exciting. It's an extremely exciting job. It's very intellectually very rewarding that you are going out and then you pick up a piece of information and then through your own work, through your own inquiries and through your investigation, then you will end up with a story that nobody has told before. It's a really rewarding process, and of course I think it has a good social impact and social value. So I think it's a good combination. If you are looking for a rewarding and important kind of line of work.
Thank you. Now we'd like to open the floor for the questions of the audience. So if you have any questions, maybe raise your hands.
Thank you very much. It was a very interesting movie. I'm Italian and I was born in the 80s, so I know quite a lot about public corruption. I grew up in it. I have two questions. One is a very general one. I'm an empirical economist. I think there's a lot of academics that would find what you said about the importance of journalism resonating a lot. Like how can we interact more? I have a couple of times interacted with investigative journalists in my work, and it's a very thin line to walk as an academic with access to privileged data. What can you make filter? Like, how do you see the relationship between academia and investigative journalism? This will be my first question. The second one is about Tunisia specifically. There's a lot of very interesting research that's been done on the Ben Ali network. A lot of it was based on tax data. And that was possible because Ben Ali fell. And therefore, all of the thing that the Revenue Authority had access to became of public domain. Would it be possible through Freedom of Information Act to get access to some of the tax return of the companies connected to these individuals and see whether what they claim at the end about the tax expenditure, how much tax discount they got? I mean, that could be a very interesting source of information for any follow-up piece or potentially, legal consequences. Thank you very much.
To your first question, yes, I think there is I think the field of investigative journalism and social sciences are actually getting closer and closer. Like when I studied data journalism in the US, and I spent some time at the Washington Post's investigative unit, and I was really surprised to see that basically they were, I think they work like scientists, like they took big databases and they were looking for patterns and they tested their hypotheses all the time, and basically that's how they, and of course they needed more color for pieces than, you know, for academic work probably. But so and if you go to, you know, some of these conferences, investigative reporting conferences in the US, there is even a conference dedicated for data journalism, computer assisted reporting, and that's, you know, full of, you know, really like geeks and scientist type of people. So it's like I think it's getting closer and closer. To your second question, I'm not sure if we can do that here in Hungary. I think anything that has to do with taxation is very private, and it's I think it's even a crime to, you know, to get those. Even if you could get that the information, I think it would be hard to publish. But it's really hard. But of course, you know, that's one of the other things that I kind of mentioned before, that, you know, if there is a political change for any reason, like, you know, of course, I think we are all curious, you know, if we can get access to some books and some documents, and I think there will be a lot of stories to tell, even for years.
Yeah, I think stuff like tax returns aren't foyable. Except for in Norway, I believe. Also in Netherlands, every taxpayer has a sort of right to privacy. We do work a lot with the Dutch FOIA. We have one person who does nothing different than sending out FOIAs. It sometimes can take very long because the tradition of openness is not big in the Netherlands. It's not as transparent as the US, for example. And about the academics, yeah, we also work a lot with academics, and like you said, the work starts looking more. At least I think a lot of journalists are they professionalize. They start working more professional, and it's getting more scientific, especially with data. We also have people for that. I write a lot about taxes and stuff like transfer pricing, which is quite complex. So then I ask people in the field, but also professors to help me with difficult stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Kati Cseres. I am Hungarian, so I can connect very much to the film, but it was very interesting. And something that maybe you refer to that you left out, and I would be interested to hear a little bit more about it, is when you said now, when you were talking about the enablers. And we hear a little bit about it with regard to the Elios case. And I would be especially interested in, I am a lawyer, so we don't have to go into the EU, etc. But I have been wondering for a long time, indeed, and if you could go back a bit more in time, so not now when sort of everything is already gone, but how could it happen that that companies in those fields, competitors, etc., that there has been no resistance, or was it? So what I understand from that little segment, which is very interesting about the Elios, is that they were extremely afraid. Is it only fear or disinterest, or what? I always had the idea that, for example, Dutch-owned companies who are very sensitive to their commercial interests, that they would offer some resistance. And we do see now some cases by Austrian supermarkets, etc., standing up. But anything around that, I would be interested to hear. Thank you.
Yes, that's a really good question, and I think, yeah, I mean, you could make another film about that. But I think the short answer is that I think probably, I mean, I don't know the exact reasons why these other companies didn't, you know, challenge those procurements, or, I mean, I'm not sure about their reasons, but I think probably even back then, I think there was a lack of trust in institutions. Like, you know, if these companies started to, you know, if they had gone to, you know, the courts or the procurement authority, or the competition authority, I think they didn't really expect like a you know, a fair treatment, or that they would get a hearing, or that would be their case will be treated independently, because they all knew. I mean that's pretty clear that in the case of Elios, everybody knew that, you know, this was the family's business. So it's, I mean, I don't think they had the courage to take them on. But I think, you know, having lived through these 15 years, I think the most corrosive effect, or what corroded the most the system, was the spread of fear, just simply inside Hungary. That it was people started to be afraid of speaking up, or giving information to journalists, or let alone challenging another company. I mean, if you look at what these, in recent years there were some Austrian companies, even German companies, but as far as I understand, they went to the German press. That's where they saw that they could get some kind of protection. I'm not sure if they actually tried the Hungarian legal avenues or not. So yeah.
I also wanted to talk about the case of the Austrian supermarkets, which I happen to know because I listen to Austrian radio. The Hungarian government has a case open in front of the European Commission because of giving tax benefits to Hungarian supermarkets, but not to foreign ones, to other EU ones. And I was already interested in the story, but when I saw Orban talking in the parliament about Hungarian capitalism, and that it would be better that our business is conducted by Hungarian capitalists in a situation where we have within the EU complete freedom of movement of capital. So this is blatant against EU law. So I was wondering whether people in Hungary speak about these things, the government giving advantages to Hungarian supermarkets so that they can expel from the market EU competitors. And of course this has consequences for the Hungarian consumers because they have to pay more money and they had less choices, fewer choices. So this is one thing, and I will be interested in your comments whether these are things that are discussed in the Hungarian public sphere. And the other is what happens with the courts, because they don't appear in the film, the judge, and you haven't talked about them until now. Are they so completely under governmental control that there is no chance of getting some kind of access to justice by using the Hungarian courts, and you have to go to the European Union, to the European Court of Justice, or is there still some possibility of having independent judicial decisions in Hungary? And all these things you talk about in the film, are they legal, or they are not legal but they are not courts to enforce the law?
That's a lot, and I'm not really an expert on Austrian retail chains or even the courts. In fact, although I like to think, I just went to there is a Lidl on the other side of the street, and I just went to buy something before the film screening, and it was full. And I think if they kicked out Lidl and Aldi, I think there would be a revolution in Hungary. I think that would be probably the only reason why I think people are so attached to these chains. So it's but I don't you know, I think yes, people like, you know, go to these stores and they vote with their feet, and you know, it's in a world with their wallets, but I don't have any information on, you know, how much this is discussed. You know, the specific case was Spar. So I'm an Aldi person. I don't go to Spar, so I can't comment on Spar. Sorry.
Spar is a Dutch company, at least with a headquarters in.
Okay. But yes,
of course.
And about the courts, I think probably you will find people here in the audience who are better positioned to talk about that. But you know, it's a mixed bag. There are I think the lower level courts are still fairly independent, but as you go higher, then you will see more pressure on the judicial system. You know, like most things in Hungary, it was kind of top down. So the first thing, actually one of the first attack on the Hungarian democratic system was the curbing of the powers of the constitutional court. You know, that happened in, I don't know, 2011 or 2012, I don't remember exactly. And then, you know, they appointed people to the Curia, which is like the Supreme Court, who are more closer to the government. So yeah, I think that's also very, you know, that erodes the trust in the judicial system as well. But I don't think you can say that the whole judicial system or judiciary has been captured. I don't think that would be fair to say, but I'm not like an expert on that. Maybe actually, Anna, probably you're a business journalist, so maybe you know more about the retail.
No, I don't think I can. I also don't follow the Austrian news, I'm afraid. I do know a lot of supermarket chains put their intellectual property, for example, so like the brands or even the shop layout, IKEA, for example, they put them in Switzerland, and then with transfer pricing, you can flush the money to this low tax jurisdiction. And yeah, supermarkets are big companies, so they're very well equipped in this. Make more money and pay less taxes. That is their main purpose often.
Yeah, about supermarkets in Hungary, I think there were a kind of change in the narrative of the government, because for a few years they kept saying that we need more Hungarian food chains, and those who are not from Hungary, those chains are making profit of our money. And I think they kind of gave up on it, because a few months ago the Minister for Economy, he actually said that he loves Lidl, and not literally, but he said that Lidl and Aldi are super effective, and no wonder that no one can compete with them, because they are just so great and we need to learn from them. And also the profit share or the margin is not that high, and the government is punishing this industry very much. So now I don't think any Tiborcs or Mészáros or anyone would enter, because it's just too difficult, and there's not a lot of money. I mean, it's just too much work. It's very hard to be there. There's another question there.
Yeah, my question relates to the last one, not to the supermarket, but to the legality. And kind of the basic question is, can the dynasty be undone? Can it be undone under a, yes, hypothetical scenario of democratization? In the study of authoritarianism and democratization, we usually think it's kind of a commonsensical idea that it's much harder to achieve if the stakes of losing are very high. So if the stakes of the regime getting out of power are very high. So this will be turning out to be a crucial question. Will these people, the Orban family, Fidesz people, will they run the risk of losing their dynasty, of losing their wealth? Or is it locked in, legally secured in a way that anything can happen in terms of alternation of power, and they will still be fine enjoying their palaces, etc.?
Well, there are in a lot of European countries and also in the United States, they now have a law called the Marnitzki Law. It is named after a Russian lawyer of an American investor called Bill Browder. And his lawyer uncovered a big corruption scheme in Russia, and he got arrested for that and got killed in prison. And since then, this Bill Browder is campaigning for a law which the US has, for example, and also a lot of European countries have it, which makes it possible to confiscate these people's wealth in foreign countries. So you see a lot of Russian oligarchs, for a lot of Russian oligarchs it's important that Putin stays in place, because if he falls, they will fall with him, and they will lose their stuff in the rest of the world. So I don't know, these laws aren't really tested well yet. But especially if the Orbans expand in other countries, and it depends, of course, where you do it. Vietnam will be different than the Netherlands, or Mexico, or South Africa. But yeah, it can be a danger, I think. Yeah, definitely.
That it's not really emphasized in the film, but you know, there is a of course there is a political dimension of this whole thing. In you know, what Orban has done after 2010, it was a little bit similar to what Putin has done in Russia after 2000. You know, basically, I think both of them had this logic that if you want to rule a country and to be in charge, then it's not enough to control the political process, you also have to control the economy. You know, in Russia that meant oil, gas, you know, natural resources. You know, in Hungary it meant, you know, banks, the energy distribution system. It meant agriculture. You know, we don't talk about it so much, but you know, agriculture is certainly land itself is a big part of it, and so that's why they've been doing it. You know, and you know, actually, Lőrinc Mészáros, this guy that is mentioned briefly in the film, who is not part of the family, is just close to Orban. He's the one who is in charge of most of these sectors. Like, he controls one of the biggest banks, he owns a lot of land. So the energy, you know, he owns a lot of energy companies. So in a way, you know, again, what I said before, you know, if the political support goes away behind those companies, it will be really hard to run those companies, because these are companies that are exposed very much to political, you know, decisions, government regulation, whatever. So I think it won't be that easy to maintain. It seems kind of fragile to me. But of course, no one knows what's going to happen and how. Maybe they have a plan for this. I don't know. I have no idea.
also like to extend my deepest gratitude to all those who had a role in creating this film, because it's one of our last hopes in sustaining at least the looks of a democratic appearance. And even though some people say that, well, the country still has elections and we still have certain attributes of democratic life, but I think we are nearing a point where it really will be a choice whether we will continue in this path of leaving the democratic group of countries and going in the way of autocracy, or we will sort of find our way back to the family of democratic rule and a possibility of creating normal life not only for the elite but also for the population of the country. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to also reflect the gentleman's question. In my view, and I think I'm not the only one, the question of power is essential for the present government, because although their wealth is legally locked in, and there's absolutely no chance, although some people dream about regaining some of it, but it will be impossible. But the problem is not this on the side of Orban's dynastical family. The problem is that we, as champions in many things, like we had the highest inflation in the world in 1946, now we have the highest rate of wealth accumulation. The speed is world champion, which has been produced here, partially in the film, but in real life, this is just the upper layer, which we are seeing what goes on beyond there, in the depths of this system, which is absorbing the life of 15 million people, because it not just relates to Hungary, but also the Hungarian diaspora. That will be lost if they lose the power. So they will, from that point on, will have to live the average capitalist life and just get the normal average return on their capital, which is not the case at this moment. The average return they are getting is just phenomenal, as we have seen also in the film's example. But my question would relate to a certain point that what I feel is lacking a little bit in the film is the very beginning, like when in the grape fields of Tokai, let us not win the most. If you remember that saying. And small items like this could have been incorporated, but I think it's okay without it also. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, yes, that was one of the gentleman was referring to, like, you know, some of the lands, wineries that the Orban family bought, and actually they keep buying now. Yes, we decided that we people will understand the story without that as well, and so we left it out.
Thank you for your questions and also for your attention. And Andreas, thanks for joining us today. And have a nice evening, everyone.
Thank you.
I just want to say thanks very much for coming, and we're going to have a small reception upstairs, so if you'd like to join us for a wee buffet and a wine, we'll just be upstairs from now. Thank you.
Can I also have a last-minute request. The reception is upstairs, but please don't bring any food or drinks downstairs, so just remain in the located area. Thank you very much.